people last time saying they'd like to look at AI. Thank you, Rachel, for remembering to record. And I'm just going to pass over to Rachel, and she's going to get us started with a karakia.
Me karakia tātou, whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mākina kina ki uta, kia mātaratara ki tai, e hia ki ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, tihei, mauri ora.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, just before we get started, I did just post a couple of people asked some questions about where could they go to find some information to pass on to senior leadership or people who are kind of, I guess, in charge of writing their policies. So I've just linked to quick Google. I know there are heaps of other resources out there, but there's a resource there on teaching responsible use of AI with some lesson ideas and some activities linked. And there's also, if you haven't seen it, the Getting Started with Google AI K-12 education course, which is really quick-ish to do, but practical and has some really easy to do, easy to implement, practical, helpful ideas for you. So just a couple of things linked there. And I just had to throw this one in before we get started. Does anyone else love this Labs Gen type? Has anyone else used it before? Rachel has. So if you're wanting to be a little bit creative with the way that you make banners in your classroom or the way that you make titles on resources, or if you just want to draw your students in with a bit of a different way of presenting a vocab word, you can go to the site. It is linked. So the little image that says Labs Gen Type here, if you click on that on the slide deck, it'll take you straight to the site. And AI will create the alphabet for you in the style that you write. So I think I put something really quick like, oh, I did, you can see it down here on the left-hand side. Cute blue flowers is all I put in. I did actually put cute pink dinosaurs to start with, but some of the letters looked slightly odd. So I chose to just go with something a little bit more generic. So it creates the alphabet for you with all of the letters. And then you can just click on one letter and you can just pull that one letter out and you can regenerate one letter if you don't like the way it's done that letter. You can just simply copy it and paste, which makes it super quick and easy. And I just removed the background from each one as I pasted it. And yeah, you can create all kinds of really cool words with different lettering that's connected to what it is that you're wanting your students to focus on. So that was just a quick little creative idea that you can use AI to get started. So I think, Juliet, are you going to introduce Andrew for us? He's got some great ideas to share.
And again, we have the wonderful Andrew Corney from the Elijah, is that how we say it, Corney? Leadership Academy in Queenstown. Take it over, Corney.
Thank you, Juliet. Yep, pronounced Liger, cross between a lion and a tiger. And apologies if I crash out a little bit. We've got a big Netflix movie going on next door. So I might just turn the video off and I'll talk to these slides. They're pretty straightforward. Just in terms of image generation and being creative with your AI image generators, they're pretty good now at just starting with a very simple prompt, like create an image of a cat. You get a pretty good image of a cat. But you can really, the better you are at prompting, the better output you get. So if you just show the next one, if you can add some visual literacy terms, so use of things like focal point or perspective or style, then you can get a much more detailed or accurate image. So yeah, we all need to be prompt engineers, and if you understand the language of the arts, you can get some better output. The second thing that I wanted to share with you on the next slide is about getting AI to help you write the prompt. So if you're doing stuff with kids and they've got this idea, this mental image of what they want to try and produce, let's say it's, in this example, it's a sustainable city of the future. They first of all ask the AI to write the prompt. I think that's the next bullet point. So ask AI to create a detailed image prompt, not the image prompt. Take that prompt, put that into the image generator, and then the output should be a better image than if they just asked it for, give me an image of a future sustainable city. So that's what that photo down the bottom there is trying to illustrate. And here's an example. So that first bit is the key part that I've found. Help me write a detailed prompt rather than just telling it to generate the image. And you can see the text on the right-hand side of the screen, much more detailed, generating a much better image. And I think that is it from me. Next.
So Andrew, before we go next, Michael has a question. Could you create a gem which prompts the students Socratically?
Well, you could create a gem, but then there's that problem with sharing, isn't it? Because I guess the secret is to add in that first sentence, help me write a detailed prompt. And then I've started playing around with, in the prompt, like write a detailed prompt, then generate the image. That seems to have the same output as well. Obviously, the problematic thing with gems is sharing them with students. But yeah, you could write your own gem to output those types of prompts.
So Steve, do we have any updates on when the gem sharing is coming?
Soon.
I love very politically correct answer. Love it.
I really like keeping my job, so I'm going to say soon.
Fair enough too. Fair enough. Yeah, and I think just putting them on a doc and sharing them that way is good. And in fact, if you've got younger students, like I have year 6 students, then who aren't really creating their own images, well, they are in a tool, but it's not Google, so we won't mention it. But actually, even the sharing a doc is a good skill for our younger students to keep practicing. So putting it on a doc, copying and pasting, knowing where to find a shared doc, all those kinds of things are actually really good practice for our younger students. So maybe by sharing them on the doc, you're actually helping build those other digital skills as well.
Yeah,
so it could be something that...
It's a good point you make, Donna, about all those extra skills. And, just to kind of answer your question, Michael, yeah, look, I created a gem, which was an avatar creator, which is basically those amazing questions Corny's got put through as an individual question on the gem. If you had that set up on a kiosk device, just kids could jump over, put in all their answers, and then create the image, which you can then send to them. So there's definitely ways to do it at the moment. But yeah, we'll say soon.
Cool. Thanks, Steve.
Sorry. Yeah, one
Andrew,
last thing to share. Yeah, wait, one more thing. I won't ask you to reach under your seats like an Oprah show, but this was a way that I found was really useful to engage learners in building their prompting skills. So AI bingo. So a range of different prompts there to have a go at, and the one that's highlighted there is create an image of historical figures that never met. And so just found that was a really good sort of 10-15 minute activity after we'd talked about how image generators worked and how to write good prompts. And yeah, quite an engaging activity. So you're free to take a copy of that if that is of any use.
Thanks, Andrew. That's a really cool idea for a staff meeting warm-up too. Imagine the conversations that you could generate in a staff meeting using that idea. That's really cool.
Well, it's
Thanks,
funny you
Andrew.
say that. I did that for a staff meeting at a school I visited in Te Aroha College and got Canvas to create an interactive bingo board. So that was quite neat as well. So there we go. There's a meta tip for you. Create one with Canvas.
So you were in Te Aroha, Andrew?
Yes.
It's my hometown.
Yeah, doing some work with some really engaged teachers there at Te Aroha College. So they're beginning their journey, and just that the ease of that now Gemini is hardwired into Workspace made it a lot. And I think the fact that they're all using another AI chatbot, and them finding out that Gemini, their prompts didn't go anywhere, their data's protected within their organization, was quite useful for them to think about. And then obviously we saw a couple of weeks ago that Gemini in Classroom has now rolled out. So here you've got this whole suite of AI tools there waiting for you in your Workspace domain.
Thank you, Andrew. Really good points. I just want to share this quick one that I used this week. Whisk, I think we've probably talked about it before, but if you are working with students or teachers who are still building their AI literacy, then Whisk is quite a good one in terms of getting them to understand how image generation can work in terms of the prompting and giving it a subject and a scene and a style. because it asks for each one of those three things separately. So you can either type in the subject or upload an image of a subject, and then the same for the scene, and then the same for the style. So if you've got older students, or you've got teachers who are just starting to get their head around AI image generation, it's a really nice way to step through the process of thinking, what do I need to include in my prompt? And you can choose the size of it. You can see you've got different size outputs that you can put there. But the really fun thing is that you can animate them. You can't animate many. If you come back, once it gives you your picture, you can see up in the top left-hand corner, you've got the option to animate it. And then what you do is you just type in the bottom quickly what it is that you want your image, how do you want it to be animated, and you can actually download it as either a video or as a GIF. And Steve, you might be able to tell us how many animations. Is it, I think it's 6 or 8, or it's not many?
Yeah, I think it's about, I think it might be 10. I just used my last one today on a really silly animation. We're not good one. I just used my last animation. Amazing.
Yeah. Now you're going to have to go to a different account.
Correct.
Yeah. But a really nice way to be able to think about the way to generate the images, and then what are you actually going to do with it? How could you make it a little bit more purposeful? And the GIF is so easy to insert things if you don't want the video. We've had 3 quick ideas. Any questions before Jordan shares another really cool idea? Awesome. All right. So, Juliet, do you want to introduce Jordan?
Well, now over to Jordan Shalcrease from Rolleston School, isn't it?
That would be the one, the original. We're over 120 something years old, and we're also the only single size school in Rolleston. So it's our little claim to fame.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share something that I actually picked up in a previous call, and I've been running with a little bit. So looking at gamification of review. Google states that Gemini Canvas can personalize learning. So how does this actually look in your learning environment is what I wanted to touch on. So if we go to the next slide, please. The first thing, obviously, that you need to do is you need to think about what it is you want to do for the game and what the game is for. So is it for spelling, reading, writing, maths? You can identify any materials you need to reference, give those materials and your instructions to Gemini and click Canvas. And Gemini does all the coding magic with Canvas for you. So this is an example of one. I made a spelling and grammar quiz. We are an ideal school, and I'd previously made a booklet. I took all the questions off the booklet in a PDF form and gave them to Gemini, and Gemini made an interactive game. Yes, and then I embedded it into my Google site. So if we go to the next slide. So
Jordan, sorry, just before we go to the next slide, for those teachers who aren't sure, when you say you're an ideal school, can you explain what that is?
So Ideal is our structured literacy program that we use. So it has 40 concepts and 4 stages that the children work their way through. It's similar to many other structured literacy programs. We've been doing it for a few years. So a couple of years ago, I made this booklet to test their knowledge. So it has the spelling concepts, the words, which words spelled correctly, what's the open or closed syllable, things like that that are going to check their knowledge. And the problem is, they get so focused on buying the books, I wanted to take it out and see what I could do with Gemini. So this was my starting prompt. I gave it this prompt and the PDF with the questions and answers, and it does have 4 answers or 3 answers, so the correct one is marked, but then it also had some incorrect options. And then after it created the original game, I've just listed some of the edits I got it to make, because the most important thing once it's made something on Canvas is playtest it, check it. Does it do what you want it to do? Does it do it how you want it to do it? If the answer is yes, great. If it's no, go back and tell it what you want it to change. So changes that I made the final score list. Any questions the students got wrong and what they answered instead. So they could then see, oh, I got those ones wrong. And it's actually got 75 questions in it, but it only picks a random selection of 25. So every time they play, they get a different set of questions. They're not just going to memorize the same ones. I then got it to change the explanations for incorrect answers. So if they got an answer wrong, it will tell them what the correct answer was and why that's the correct answer. So they picked policy, P-O-L-I-S-Y. Oh, that was incorrect. The actual one is P-O-L-I-C-Y because it follows the soft C rule where a C is followed by an E, an I, or a Y. So it is giving them that reminder of the spelling rule. And then I also had an issue where it only took one correct answer. So I play tested it, realized that, and went back and fixed it, and it does correctly do that now. And if you flick to the next slide, please. The final game is embedded in my class blog. My students use it at least once a week for revision. If you click on the picture, when you're on the slides, you'll actually jump to that page if you want to give it a go. I've also created weekly spelling practice games. So each week, my students get a new list of 10 words from their spelling teacher. Now we do an 8-way swap across our team. And so that's a lot of work for a teacher to then set up spelling practice for 8 different classes within their class. So each week there's a game. It gives them the word. The pronunciation is not great, but it will give them the word. They attempt the word. If they need to refer to their list, that's fine. After 3 guesses, if they're still getting it wrong, it will then jump to the next word for them. So it's giving them that practice. They don't need to find a buddy if no one else is in their group, if they're struggling to read the words, and can do that independently. So that's just a little play with Canvas, but I highly recommend giving it a go and embedding it. Yeah, feel free to have a play with it. I've already done. Audrey?
Audrey, did you want to
Love
ask
the
a question?
ideas. Just love your ideas and playing around, getting your spelling lists up and running too. Yeah, really cool.
Well, thank you.
And Jordan, so have you got in your weekly spelling test an audio of the word? Did you say it pronounces the word?
Yeah, so it's not super perfect yet, but most of the words they can get and they can refer to their list if they need to. I do it early in the week to just get them thinking about the words and practicing the skill, and then they actually buddy test at the end of the week. So at each week there's a new one. They select their teacher from a drop down because there's 8 different spelling teachers. They find their teacher and it then runs them through their 10 spelling words.
Oh, so you coded it and asked it to create an audio of the word.
Yeah, and then at the end of each week, when I'm preparing for the following week, I take the new set of word lists, I give it to Gemini, and I say replace the words with these words, and it runs it and it creates the next game.
Oh, that is very cool. Yeah, haven't thought of asking it to create an audio or something, because I've asked it to create an image and it tells me it can't. But audio, that's awesome. Any other questions for Jordan before we move on? Oh, Amber said that's fantastic, Jordan. Thank you for sharing. That's really awesome. Yeah, I get what you mean about the blue kit. It is actually really quite good taking it away from the distractions of the game and putting it in a way where it just focuses on the learning but is still appealing to the kids to do. I think that's a definitely a big bonus. Awesome. This is just one activity that I've done actually with my students in the last week, so I thought I would just share it. We're having a bit of a focus on helping my students who are Year 6 understand what AI actually is and how it works, so that when they move through to middle school next year, they know that it's a computer software program, that it's making predictions based on the prompt that you give it, that it doesn't have human-like qualities, just trying to develop those base understandings in them. So we've been focusing on curiosity and how our curiosity leads us to ask good questions. So we did a little bit of a brainstorm before we did this activity, but we used Sparky. So it's a Google Arts and Culture activity, play activity, if you haven't seen it. And the really cool thing is that the students don't need to log in. They don't put their name anywhere. It's not collecting any personal data. And so it's okay for our kids to use it. So it looks like this. They log in and they choose from 3 types of inventions. They can choose food, travel, or music. it comes to a panel, down the side there's a whole lot of objects, and they can only choose 2 objects, and they're going to combine those 2 objects to invent something new. And then they get to choose an action that they want their invention to take and something that they want that action to happen to. And then it creates something new for them, and it gives them a description. So what I did was I took that, and again, if you click on the image or the link, it jumps you out to my whole lesson plan. So you can see the structure that we went through, but we were talking about being creative and inventions, and then we were talking about the area that we live in and what are some of the problems that we face in our own area around us. So it was about us, and we brainstormed a whole lot of problems, and then they had to choose one problem that they felt particularly strong about trying to solve. And so they'd had a playtime in Sparky, they knew how it worked. You can see down the time I use Stickity, if anyone hasn't seen Stickity, and it's got these great little stickers. And so I was very structured with my time because I knew that otherwise they would spend all day playing and we'd get nothing else done. So they had a 5-minute play in Sparky, and then they had to jump back in with their problem, thinking about their problem, which type of invention were they going to choose, create their new invention, and then we put it all into a collaborative Google Doc because we're still building up our Google Doc skills. And actually, this is probably the best that we've worked collaboratively in a Google Doc all year. Dropped the image in, and I was really firm with them that they had to press the download button and not screenshot it, because if they press download, you see that it attributes it to Sparky and it comes from Google Arts and Culture. If they just screenshot it, they're not citing or acknowledging where their image came from. So they had to have that citation image in there. And then they write their own description. They ignored the descriptions that Sparky gave them. They could use the name, I let them use the name. And then they had to explain how their new invention helped to solve the problem that they had chosen to focus on. And it was amazing in two reasons. They were so engaged because they loved the whole innovation creation, what was it going to make, and the names. And you can see there's just 2 examples that the students wrote. They wrote like maybe 10 minutes it took them to do the whole, make their invention in writing, but also being in a collaborative doc and seeing each other write and being able to instantly read what each other was doing was a motivation for some of the lesser enthusiastic writers to actually write some more themselves as well. So it was a great writing activity, but it was a great creative activity as well. So I just thought I would throw that in as a what you can do with AI. And Google Arts and Culture has some really great play tools in there that you can get creative with AI. So that's just another example of what you can do. So look at that, we've come in under the half hour. Oh no, and then this idea, sorry, I just threw this in. If you are involved, I know Michael is super involved in the AI Edu community of practice that meets every second week. Be sure, shared this really awesome idea last week in terms of what he had seen a teacher do, and then he had replicated it with his students, where it just, you ask AI, and it kind of fits with Jordan's structured literacy idea. You give it 10 words that all start with the same letter or the same sound or fit with the same theme or whatever it is that you want the students to be able to identify, and ask it to create an image with those things in it. And you can see the first time I asked it, it actually created one image, but it kind of had 3 images inside the one image. So then I went back and said, no, I want you to create one single image with all of them in it. And so it created this bottom one as the second output. So again, I probably wasn't as explicit in my first prompt as I needed to be. So that was a good lesson around being more specific with my prompts. But again, I gave it to my kids the next day and said, can you find 10 things that start with K? And they just, as a quick warm up in the morning, they love, one boy in particular loves these kinds of puzzle type things. And he stood there for like 10 minutes just staring in, trying to find all the 10 things that started with the same letter. So you could do it with lots of different things that you could create, combine into one image, and just have your students try and find them, or do the reverse. have your students create the images as well, or have the students give you the words. So there's lots of ways that you could use that idea. So I thought that was just a nice quick one to throw in. And so we are still in under the half hour. Before we move into the questions that people asked us this month, is there anything that people want to share? Anything that's come to mind for people? Any questions that you have before we move on?
Yeah, I guess in terms of sharing, the new Notebook LM has just dropped videos, so not just podcasts anymore. So yeah, I've been playing around with that for the last 3 hours. Yeah.
And how have you found the videos, Michael, the quality or the kinds of videos they're creating?
Yeah, they're pretty good actually. In terms of the physics, for those physics teachers out there, it kind of redefined a way of looking at energy as being like a bank account. Which wasn't actually in the notes I was using in the Notebook LM, so that kind of created it from scratch. And it was kind of like audio PowerPoints, just slides as they went through it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting.
Cool. Thanks for that, Michael. That's good to know. All right, so these are the questions that came up this week. So if anyone has any answers that they would like to throw in, we would love to hear them. First question, I have some videos which are recorded and appear to be stills, but when I view them, there is movement. Can I incorporate them into something which will allow me to pause the clip and get a single image? I'm thinking vids, that if you imported it into vids, you could pause vids and get a single image. Does anyone have any other suggestions? Okay, that's my teacher wait time. I think that's a no. Am I able to use AI to create short videos with our class photos? And someone has suggested VO3 in Gemini or Flow, Whisk AI Studio. There's a few there, but read the privacy agreements of all of them. I guess probably the one caveat that we might all agree with is that if you're going to do that with your class photos, do you have permission from all of the families before you do that? Jordan, off you go.
Yeah, I was going to say a similar thing. I mean, yes, you can, but just being very thoughtful about what you put it into, what you're using it for, and what account you're using it on. And is the AI really a necessary usage for it, or could it be something you could do yourself on vids so that you're protecting your students' images? Because privacy is a big mucky thing in the New Zealand education system.
Yeah, and I think that's where vids actually really stands up so well, is that because it's in your domain, you can so easily upload your photos into vids and put frames on them, make them creative, make them look attractive, have amazing layouts, and still have it as a video output. It's a really cool way of doing that. Or not do it at all. Yeah. Oh, question 4, Michael, not do it at all. All right, question 3, and then we'll come to question 4. Fun games for year 1 to 3. I've just linked Day of AI now has some ideas for introducing AI to students from years 1 to 3. So I have linked the Day of AI information for that. Auto Draw is a really cool, fun thing for years 1 to 3 to play with, and as is Teachable Machine. Yeah, and Jordan suggested Quick Draw is also really fun for years 1 to 3. And it is AI because it's guessing what you're trying to draw. So it's still connected with AI and it's collecting the data. So we will add the link in there to Quick Draw as well. Anyone else got any ideas that they have for years 1 to 3? Rachel?
Yes, similar, Donna, to what you did with your Sparky. I have used Gen Chess to do exactly the same. So the kids create it's an AI little tool. You create put in what you enjoy. So maybe it's, I don't know, pigs. Then it creates a really cool AI chess set on whatever you type in, and then you ask it to generate the rivals. So with my year 3-4s that I was working with, they weren't allowed to play the game of chess until they had written a brief description as to why they thought the pigs and whatever else it was generated were rivals. So one that was really good was Nike versus Adidas. So one of the boys put in Adidas because that was his favorite brand. And then the rival was Nike, and he had to write a script as to why, a little brief explanation as to why he thought they were rivals. And then once he convinced his mate next door, then they could go away and play the game of chess. So Gen Chess is another really cool one to have a play with kids.
Cool, thanks, Rachel. We'll add the links to these ideas that people have said onto the slide, so that you've got access to them after we finish. Any other ideas for fun games for years 1 to 3? I would probably just say also check out the Google Arts and Culture play, because I think Gen Chess is in there, isn't it, Rachel? Maybe, maybe not.
I'm not sure if it's in there.
But yeah, check that out. We'll link those as well.
Yeah.
Number 4, tools to check students' work for plagiarism, especially using AI for assessment. So there's a couple of ideas being dropped in there. Michael says, or not do it at all for number 4. Any other thoughts around check doc history? Yeah, Jordan, see if there's been any big copy and pastes in there. Any other ideas that people want to add to that one?
That one I dropped in there, Donna, is a tool that DeepMind have built that will watermark Gemini created text, image, music as well. And then there is a tool called SynthID Detective, which will show you whether or not that stuff came from Gemini in any way, shape, or form. So it's, you have a look at that blog, it's a really cool tool. And the idea is obviously the hope would be it would become an industry standard and everyone would sign up for it. But at the moment, that's a really cool little tool. But yeah, as Michael says, you know, there are, because it is generated on the spot and doesn't exist prior to that, kind of negates the ability for a plagiarism checker to work.
Yeah, I know there's lots of discussion around that within lots of secondary schools, especially at the moment. Yes, we will email through the slides, Rachel, but they are also attached to the invite, to the calendar invite. So you'll find them attached there. Question 5, looking at how to support students with learning needs, need ideas come to visualization from small keywords. So I guess visualize, bringing their ideas to life from their small words that they put. Ideas on that. Anyone got some ideas for students with learning needs to make their ideas visualize their ideas?
I think I needed a little bit more context for that question to be able to answer it properly, Donna, but part of my fellowship project is exactly that, looking at neurodiversity and how we can tailor our teaching and learning to the interests of the kids and what their next learning steps are. So whoever's question that was, feel free to contact me and we can have a little chat
with them. And we'll look forward to seeing your AI fellowship project. Michael, get the link, so you're using AI in a way to help your learning. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Number 6, what are some good ways to teach effective prompting and prompt engineering? So Andrew shared a couple of great ways with us already tonight. And I've also dropped in there a couple of other ideas that you could use. Say What You See is another Google Arts and Culture experiment where it gives you an image and then you have to write what you think the prompt was to create that image. And then it actually creates the image from your prompt and it gives you a percentage score as to how close you were to the original prompt. So it's a really cool one to do as a class activity, a warm up. Or you can get kids, I get kids to do it in pairs and pair their percentages. We've used it for maths, working out how close we are to getting it correct and all that kind of thing. And I've also linked a Google resource there on tips for prompting. So there's a couple of things there to help. Ethics, artists, IP, and the environmental impact. Thank you to whoever dropped, kind person who's dropped some information. Was that you, Steve?
Yeah, that was me. So there is there is actually an AI Google sustainability page which addresses a whole lot of these things. And look, everyone acknowledges that this stuff is power hungry and is water hungry for cooling. So yeah, it's a big thing to think about. The artist IP piece kind of links back to that SynthID stuff I was talking about as well. So yeah, there's a lot of that around. I've had some very good conversations with in real life artists and musicians who are like, man, this is killing. It's like, well, I think people actually pay more for a legit human created piece of music as opposed to something that's cranked out of an AI, I think.
Yeah. And there are artists like, is it Yuki Satori, who's got a Google Arts and Culture play experiment using his artwork, and he has worked with the team that created the AI game to incorporate his artwork. So I guess there's flip sides to everything as well. How do we integrate AI to meet students' needs in literacy? Anybody like to answer that question or have some answers for that question? Go, Jordan.
This is actually my AI fellowship focus. Things like the Canvas game are a great way. There's amazing tools like Read Along already built into Google Classroom, which is great for mileage of reading, and there's great text in there, but you can also put your own text in there. So something I do a lot of is take the school journal we've already read, put it into Read Along and get them to reread it with the read along, because then they're getting that extra mileage and speeding up their reading abilities. YouTube questions, you can use the AI to make questions for some of the videos. Practice Sets has Gemini. Plus, there's this really great new button on the side of Google Classroom that says Gemini, and it will generate questions for you for the text you're reading with your students, do choice boards. There's a ton of different things, but it's about being deliberate, I think, is the key thing. And whatever task you're giving them, it is purposeful and there is an intent behind it, but AI streamlines some of that teacher workload to provide the experience.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that I can think of that's helped my kids with literacy, and I guess it's around their reading and note-taking and researching, which is a PYP school with a group of year sixes who are currently doing exhibition as a massive focus. And at the moment, they're all just researching what is their form question. And of course, you search like what is endangered animals, and up comes the AI summary at the top. And so we've had an amazing discussion over this last week and a half around, well, where is that summary coming from? And what is that, that it is an AI summary at the top. A lot of them initially thought it was just another website. So we've got that idea now that it's an AI summary, but the links are amazing because at the end of the summary, it has a link, and down the side comes up the websites that it got that summary from. So then the kids are being critical about which of those websites they're going to go to first, and then they're reading that website and taking their notes from there. And it's been a great lesson in critical thinking and research literacy and AI literacy, all built in to this one AI summary in Chrome that's given us a week's worth of discussion and some really great deep learning from the kids. So I think it's sometimes about recognizing where the AI might be appearing and being able to have those conversations around where is it coming from, where's it getting that information, how do we double check it, and then we go there ourselves and we get some great information. It is saving the mindless Googling of websites that have nothing to do with what we're talking about. So I am grateful for that. So it's been really powerful. And last question, Glenn, go for it. Glenn has a question.
Yeah, I've just, with that for the needs and literacy, I've just been playing around with gems in anticipation of my kids being able to use them and me being able to push them out in Google Classroom. So one of the things I hate as a teacher is having to tell the kids to go away and correct all the lowercase i's they have in their writing, and also doing their spelling. So I've created a gem today where kids would put their writing in and it'll go, right, you've got 9 lowercase i's you need to go and find and fix. And then it'll list all the spelling words that they've got incorrect at the bottom of the, like I said, don't fix it for them, but list all the spelling words at the bottom of their of the prompt. And they have to go away and fix their spelling words, and then they'll put it back into the gem, and then it'll say, awesome, now you can go see your teacher to get some other feedback. Or I'll create another gem to help me with that as well. But, yeah, so that's how I've played around with that.
Oh, thanks, Glenn. That's an awesome idea. Michael, you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, well, I guess extending on to Glenn's work with gems, I've taken it from the teacher perspective, being director of e-learning here. So basically, I've sat down with the teacher in charge of literacy, and we've created a bespoke gem for staff and how they can actually implement different literacy kind of procedures in their own context. So be it a year 9 science class or a year 12 history class, just allowing them to see how they can incorporate it into their own practice. And it kind of gives them agency as well, because they have control of what they can do in the classroom. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Michael. That's awesome. Audrey.
Just recently attended a conference where they created Gemini gems using the school's cultural narrative, putting in the cultural narrative, and then so I went back to my school, got the cultural narrative, and then I put in maths no problem assessment, some of the assessments, and so the assessments was using the cultural narrative for the assessments. Really good data, history around for the kids to learn. Really good.
Another great idea. Thank you, Audrey. Rachel.
Pre the AI and education boom, I used to use a tool called the Hemingway app editor for writing. And it was similar to what Glenn was talking about with his gem. And the only thing that used to bug me is it didn't pick up spelling and grammar, but it picked up long on-run sentences. It picked up a whole lot of things for kids writing, and it color-coded them for children to go back and edit their writing. But I've just seen that their new version and the paid version, there is a spelling and grammar as well. So it'd be interesting to go back and have a look at that Hemingway app and create a gem based on their outputs as well. I think that's definitely a possibility that I'm going to look into. So thanks for reminding me about that, Glenn.
You've got another job to add to your list now, Rachel. Awesome. And so that is all our questions. Those are all our questions. Does anyone on the call have a question that's come to mind while we've been chatting and you want to ask, or something's come to mind and you think that would actually answer one of those questions? Right. So, all right, Steve. Oh, Michael?
That's that last question that wasn't answered about how to incorporate AI. I think it's very important that we always put pedagogy first. So we don't think of, here's an AI tool, how can I incorporate it in my lessons? It's rather, here is what I'm going to have in my lesson. How could AI actually enhance that? Because I'm also seeing a lot of AI just doing substitution work. So it's like, why are we using AI when a piece of paper just does the job as good as anything else? So it's important that I think using AI for more the modification and redefinition part of SAMA rather than just substitution.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Michael. Thank you for raising that. We definitely need to keep pedagogy first, and also that whole human in the loop needs to be part of it. Yeah, SAMA is always good for kind of benchmarking what you're doing, for sure. All right, Michael, Stephen, where am I doing? Steve, updates.
Amazing, thank you. So people often kind of ask what's a good place to keep up with the updates, and the Google Workspace Updates blog has been rebuilt. So it's no longer sitting on Blogger. It's now actually moved to a brand new platform, and it's a lot easier to navigate. So the Google Workspace Update blog gives the things that have actually been released and what the rollout pace is and all that sort of stuff. So there's a short link there, bit.ly Google WUB Workspace Updates blog was what came to mind. So that will take you to that page. So if you want to keep ahead or keep up with all the updates, really good place. You can see across the top in blue there are a whole lot of filters you can drop in there to see what you want to have a look at. So that's my first little update. So I just wanted to remind people, yeah, the Gemini app is as of the 1st, which is after the opt-out period, it will be available to users of all ages, covered by your workspace terms of service as a core app with nothing going anywhere. So that is available to switch on or switched off by your admin, whoever that happens to be. If you want to leave it off, remember to jump in and just opt out of the rollouts. If you want to let it roll out, let it go as well. So yeah, definitely available to all workspace users. It is covered by your terms of service, and it is a core service as well. So a couple of updates around that one. This one is a new little integration inside of Gmail, where you can now send links to your booking page a lot easier. So if you have a time when you want to share booking times with parents, for instance, or families, then you can set up a little booking slots, and this new little integration here shows how you can share those booking slots with people. So report nights, fantastic for that. Also, if you just have a time when you want to make yourself available to meet with families, you can share that via this little booking integration inside of Gmail. Class tools. So class tools I talked about last month, and we saw it up at ISTE as well. So class tools is now available in Chrome OS version 137. So it is a Chromebook app. It is also a teacher Chromebook app as well. Also works on flexed devices. So if the teacher has a flexed device, they can use class tools on that. There are a couple of admin console settings you need to switch on. So you switch all the kids into a student view, and you switch all the teachers into a teacher view. So it defaults that way. So that's class tools. Really cool little tool. It is Chromebook to Chromebook. It is inside your domain. It doesn't go across boundaries of different devices. So again, data keeps super safe and secure inside there.
Rachel's going to be doing some flexing.
Yes, indeed. And I can't remember if I talked about this one last time or not, but yeah, Google Vids is now available to all Workspace for Education users. Want to drop that in, especially for Donna, obviously. So yeah, it means that everyone can get the Vids now. There is a slightly different Workspace Plus and regular Workspace, but it does mean now that you can get your kids to do things like record a piece to camera or start from a blank timeline, or upload some slides. So yeah, Vids available for all users. A nice little update there.
So Steve, all I would like now is an update on when it will work on iPads, please.
Okay, I'll see if I can find out for you. I'll also drop one more update in there in the chat. There is a little update that came out from, not a little update, an update that came out from DeepMind around investigating the context of online images with a new tool called Backstory. So you can find out if an image is a real image, or if it doesn't exist as a real image, it can be suggested it's an AI created image. And the one they use there as an example on that page is actually the photo of the shark swimming up one of the main roads after Hurricane Katrina. And so it says, yes, this is actually a real photo of a shark and swimming itself up a road, a flooded road, albeit. But yeah, really cool story there. Nice understanding of what they're trying to achieve there, so we can get that integrity of images back again. So just drop that into the chat.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. And we'll drop that into the slide deck for people who might be watching the recording later on and can't grab it from the chat. And also do you want to talk about the summit, Steve?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not sure if there are any tickets left. We may be over capacity again. But look, jump into that tiny URL up there. Pretty cool bunch of people heading out for the summit. So it is going to be on the Monday. We have our AI Fellowship presentation on the Sunday. We have the summit on the Monday and the Energizer on the Tuesday. So a big 3 days of googliness over this week. So jump into here. Yeah, Eric Kurtz is coming over to do a keynote. He's really looking forward to coming out to New Zealand and meeting everyone. So if you haven't got a ticket yet, jump in there and see if you can get one. There may be a wait list. Just see how you go.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. And as always, we would love your feedback. And if you fill out the feedback now, we'll give you 2 minutes to do it. Then Steve is going to give away some swag. Aren't you, Steve? So
of course I am. Am I doing? Yeah, you fill out. Everyone fill out the form. I'll go and quickly make a spinner via the magic of Canvas.
Sorry, I've got to spin it up really to put names in because I wasn't quite sure that Canvas. But while people are filling out the form, I did make a spinner. I know it sounds a very basic thing to make, but I made a spinner with Canvas for my class, and it is so good because there's no ads on it. I don't have to log in. I've just got it bookmarked on a Google site. I can go into the code and remove any names of students who might leave or come or whatever. And it is seamless in terms of not having to pay a subscription, to have a site that saves the names, to have no ads. So good, so good. And the
I
kids were
also
very
I
impressed
I
with
made
it.
a new one today, Donna, and it's again for one of us that are the older people in the room, which was the old boards that used to be on the airport with the letters that flicked open because they went tick, tick,
Oh,
tick,
yeah?
tick, tick. So I made a wheel of names spinner, but with that ticker as the output, which I thought was quite fun being an old person.
It's quite cool too. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I made one with because my kids I don't even know that there are shops now where you can go into the store and they are literally those claw machines. And where something drops down and you grab a soft toy or something. But there's whole shops apparently that are just like these machines. And one of my girls is obsessed with them. So I made a claw machine to pull the names out. And she
Nice.
loved that. Yeah.
And
That was really
interestingly,
cool.
like we're going back to what Andrew was talking about before about when you're creating images, it's all about with the instructions you give it. Like creating these sorts of things by students is a really big literacy exercise because you have to be really precise in what you're asking for. Otherwise, it's garbage in, garbage out. So I think a lot of this is really supporting some good different hooks for literacy.
Yeah. Rachel, are you able to copy the names? Is it or the names of or shall I jump in and do that?
I'm just looking for them for you. Hang on.
I could probably do it. Oh no, because if I click that link, it's only going to give me not the edit view. How many pieces of swag are we giving away tonight, Steve?
Well, we always do 3, so I mean, I might as well keep doing 3.
All right.
Why not?
Awesome. I could actually do it this way. Alrighty. So we have lots of names today.
Fantastic.
Michael, if you win today, you have got to go and buy a lotto ticket. All right, so we currently have quite a few names. I've got them.
Got them?
Yeah, got them.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I've got Glenn, Michael, Jordan, Renee, Rachel, Nairi, Amber, Kylie, Lisa, Sarah, Adam, Leonie, Nick, and Audrey. Just quickly drop in the chat if I did miss your name. Did I get everyone's names? All right. Let's go. We won't record the names just in case. First name that comes up tonight is Renee.